From the Daily Mail, apocalyptic inferno rips through celebrity-packed LA mansions as thousands run for their lives but are blocked by gridlocked traffic.
Dang.
Now, I hope everybody is safe. This is a tragedy. It's horrifying. And I am not blaming these people who are suffering for anything directly. This is just wildfires happen. It's a tragedy. However, California is largely mismanaged. They don't do, what do they call it, forest floor maintenance, brush maintenance. A lot of work has to be done because, you know, the reality is throughout history, outside of civilization, wildfires happen. Because the brush falls down, the tinder builds up, fires start, it burns it all out. Now we got people living in these places. It means we have to do forest floor management, and they don't do it. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of breaking news on this stuff. I hope everybody is okay.
Yes.
But now I'm going to throw some shade over at California because this video was going viral. Here's a video from Fire Photo Girl. Unbelievable. I'm literally fighting with a homeless person who is lighting fires. She told me she is doing a good thing. Colton jurisdiction. So this video is apparently in the eastern, it's in San Bernardino, which is maybe about an hour east of the LA area proper. The Palisades are on the western side. So I'm not saying this homeless person started the wildfires, but this is literally a video of what appears to be a homeless person starting a brush fire. And when you have a massive and dramatic escalation of homeless, or what I would describe as people removed from society living in your communities, you're going to get these wildfires. You're going to get crime. You're going to get violence. And so I just want to make sure that people understand this. This isn't the only video. I got a story for you guys. Let me pull this one up. From kget.com. 2024 sees rise in fires in Bakersfield suspected to be started by homeless people. Bakersfield, California. This is a story from December 31st. Fires are being lit in California by homeless people. If they came out into the Palisades fire or these other wildfires were started because of the homeless people are starting them, I'd say, well, yeah, we have the news reporting. So here's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say anything about the Palisades fire and who started it. We don't know. I don't know. But I'm saying California is a perfect example of liberal mismanagement and failure of a state, and it's sad.
Are you telling me that a community largely comprised of mentally ill people happened to start a lot of fires too? You gotta be joshing me. You can't be serious. Look, a massive part of why there are homeless, of the homeless people that there are, is because they're suffering from mental illness. I personally think it's probably a good idea to bring back involuntary commitment and bring back state facilities to take care of people that are mentally ill.
That's tough.
It's really awful to think because they were being abused before, but man, I don't think that it's actually more humane to allow them to live on the streets, to allow them to use drugs.
The island.
Greenland.
No, let's not sully beautiful, beautiful Greenland. Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Yukon territory.
You don't need to waste money on social programs to send them up north.
I mean, look, it's like you put a million monkeys in a room and eventually they'll write Shakespeare, right? You put a million mentally ill people in the Yukon territory, eventually they'll build a city.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, though, how do you help deranged, unwell individuals who are starting fires? The answer is not to let them roam about homeless, hungry, and derelict. Yep. The answer is, I'm not going to say it's necessarily to forcefully round them up and put them into, facilities and mental institutions or anything like that. I'm saying right now, whatever it is they're doing ain't working, and it's getting worse.
Well, Trump, I know this is probably not something he's going to push for, but he always does specifically talk about, when the people are coming over the border, they're from insane asylums. Like, he uses those words quite a bit. I'm with you, Phil. I don't really think there is a better answer. I mean, I think it was Austin, Texas. They had this fund that was set up that said, hey, we will fund $1 billion if somebody can come up with a plan to fix homelessness. Or let's say it was $100 million, right? And they put the brightest minds on it. And it's like, you cannot fix crazy.
Yep.
These people, most of them are drug addicts, alcoholics, but they are crazy.
Yep. And substance abuse and homeless and mental illness of homeless people is a Venn diagram of a circle.
Yeah. So I think anybody that thinks there's an easy solution here, but at what point does the left finally admit or realize that, like, trying to fix this is not like, when do they hit that point? When their own house gets burned down?
When they stop being on the left. So Anna Kasparian is what happens, right? If you listen to Hassan Piker, if you listen to him, he will come up with a whole slew of excuses as to why it's the stresses of capitalism and blah, 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 all kinds of garbage. But when it becomes a reality, like it did with Anna Kasparian, then they say, okay, you know what? The leftist policies that I've been endorsing and that I've been voting for and that are that have been instated in California, they just don't work. And so you stop being a leftist is what happens, because the leftists are wrong. Well, they're idiots and they're wrong.
That's only because she's like sane. Because we've had examples in the past where like the one guy got killed and the girlfriend went and fought for the guy who killed her boyfriend. There's too many scenarios where they want to help. You know, they're crazy themselves.
If he'd have assaulted her, it wasn't personal enough. And it sounds horrible.
Just killed the hub.
I know, but it sounds horrible. But she wasn't actually assaulted. It was her boyfriend. It was another person.
What story are you talking about?
The one where the guy got stabbed, and then she's defending the guy that stabbed the.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault. It's racism and whatever. You know, he's hurt in his mental health. She was sticking up for the guy who killed her
boyfriend. If she had gotten stabbed, it would have been a different.
It was like last year. It was a big story.
Oh. But like the thing with Anna Kasparian is there were multiple issues, multiple things. She was sexually assaulted, and then there was all the people giving her crap because she said, "Don't call me a birthing person." So it took a few different
couple rounds,
a couple things to happen to get her to say, "Okay, I'm over this." But that's generally what it is. It can't be, or it's rarely just one, because that stupid moron from the Majority Report, that Emma chick. She got elbowed in the face on a subway one time, and she's down there making excuses. Oh, I wouldn't want him to have to go to a facility. I was scared and stuff, but it's more important that he get to elbow people on the subway than for me to be not elbowed.
The homeless stuff, the homeless issue stuff really gets me on the left. It's one of the most annoying things, because these self-righteous hoity-toity people who've never even tried, like Kyle Kalinske, I ragged on him a while ago. They have no idea what they're talking about. They've never actually dealt with the problem. They have no idea what it is. And in their minds, I mean, you got to understand, this is a guy who doesn't know what a farm looks like. Yeah. He thinks a homeless person is a guy who got laid off from work and is like, oh, gosh darn, if only I had opportunity in this country and the billionaires didn't rob me blind, I'd have a house. Idiot. The reality is homeless people are like, I need a hit, I need a hit, I need a hit, I need a hit. And you're like, excuse me, sir? Can I get you a blanket or food? You got a hit, you got a hit, you got a hit. And you're like, are you saying you need drugs? And I'm like, I can't talk to this guy anymore. I don't know what to do. Yep. That's homelessness. Sometimes I bumped into homeless people who are like, yeah, man, look, I'm not interested. I appreciate the help. This is where I live. Bye. And they were of sound mind, but they choose it. When I was in Seattle, you got a lot of teenage homeless kids, and they're like, we want to be here. Go away. They choose. There are kids who hop on the trains and they ride them through the north to the northwest, intentionally to meet up with other derelict, rail hopping homeless kids. It's like, to them, it's cool.
Yeah.
There's no getting those kids off the street.
Listen, I don't talk about this too often. My sister's on the street in Kensington, and fentanyl, definitely fentanyl. It's been 14 years, and I tell people, like, there's this weird, the first 4 or 5 years with the addiction, you're like, hey, here's some money. Let's put you in rehab. Let's put you in rehab. Hey, you need a place to stay. Let's put you in rehab for the 10th time. Let's put you in rehab for the 15th time, right? And you get to a certain point. She's my sister. I love her. I'm rooting for her. But, for your own sake of, like, after 5 or 6 years, it's like if they don't want help, it's on them.
Homelessness is a choice, because if you choose to do the things that keep you homeless, even if you're like, oh, I would love to have a home. Okay, well, then you got to stop doing heroin. Right. And it's like, if the choice is stop doing heroin and go into a facility that sets you on the path to getting into a home, but you don't stop doing heroin, you're choosing to remain homeless.
And the issue is, you know why? Because I worked for a homeless shelter. The reason why you don't really bump into a lot of people who are of sound mind and homeless is because they quickly are not homeless. Mm-hmm. Because there are tons of nonprofits and organizations that will give you a clean suit, give you a place to sleep, help you get a job, and help you get an apartment. The problem is the people who are largely homeless are mentally unwell. And the answer of just let them do their thing isn't solving the problem. But when you run into a guy who's like, look, man, I lost my job, and then I couldn't pay the rent. They just evicted me, and I've been sleeping out here for a week. The shelters go, you want a room at a house? And they go, yes, please. And they take it. They say, we'll wash your laundry for you. There's breakfast downstairs, and we'll start, we're talking to various places that have job opportunities. And they go, thank you so much. And then 3 weeks later, they're like, I saved up enough. I got an apartment. And you're like, goodbye. And they're not homeless anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is that that states, municipalities allow people to stay on the streets. If you don't allow them to stay on the streets, you go in and you clear out the homeless encampments, you knock their stuff down. I mean, it's a little on the rough side, yeah, but you tell them they can't stay on the streets. They have to keep, if they're continuously moving around because the cops are shoving them off and stuff, then they end up deciding it's too much of a pain in the butt to stay homeless. And then they'll go ahead and start doing the things they need to do to get off the streets. But if you allow them a place to shoot drugs, they're gonna continue to shoot drugs. And that means that they're not gonna get into a place.
What was wild was how quick society became numb to it. I mean, if like anybody who spent any time in some of these cities, right? It's just like, I mean, especially we always talk about San Francisco, but we just were so okay with it. Right away it was just like, oh yeah, the police aren't going to prosecute. They're just going to shoot up heroin. They may have overdosed. They may have died. And that's just how it is here in San Francisco. That to me was wild, how we went from 0 to 100. And, people, when they go to the city for the first time, it's like this eye-opening experience. First time I went to New York, right? My parents, for the first time ever, were like, hey, there's a homeless guy over there, right? And like, you remember that. And like now it's just commonplace.
Yeah. I mean, I was just in Florida, and there were homeless people on the beach. There's sleeping on the beach, and it was fine. If you allow, and that's in Florida, right, where you would think, they would, shuffle them along.
I don't understand how there are homeless people in the cold towns, the cold cities.
Oh, bro,
That's
Chicago.
Insane.
They live under bridges, and the way the way the overpasses are built is they're really long because like an 8-lane highway, and so then you've got these like probably 4 foot tall. So it's a 4 foot tall cement block, and then every maybe 8 feet is a pillar, and each of them they lay down on top of the block in between the pillars. So as you're walking on the sidewalk, you pass like 8 homeless people who smell like feces and urine. That's Chicago, and they pile up. It was really wild. At the whereas we call it the Picasso. I forgot what the name of the building is, but. This is years ago. I'd be downtown in the middle of the night. Me and my buddies would be skating. It's like 20 years ago. And you'd probably see 300 homeless people lying randomly. Jeez. And it's like 40 degrees out. And they're just lying all in random places all over the ground. Yep.
No shoes. It's got to be cold as F.
No, they got shoes.
Well, I mean, I've seen people without shoes and,
No, they have like, they have probably 2 shopping carts full of possessions each. And so they have mattresses under the bridges, and then sheets are laid out, and then they build little houses. Dude, I went to D.C., what was it, like a couple weeks ago, and you can see the tents lining they have those walkways or the roads that go. They have underpasses where I don't know what the name of the locations are, but in D.C. they have like you go under and a lot of traffic. There's just homeless tents around them. So on the top where you've got the bridge. There's just like 6 homeless tents, and we saw tons of them everywhere. And I'm like, man, who'd want to be here? That's crazy. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.